How does an ATS affect your job search? ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. And while the important takeaway here is to use keywords in the job description of the job you're applying for, so the ATS recognizes your resume and you don't get the boot, that's not really the whole story. The thing is, when people think about ATS, they think about one system, and that's not really what's going on. Many different companies have different ATS capabilities and different ways to set it up. Recruiters and hiring managers can add, remove, define qualifiers, change filters, and so on. One of the biggest pieces that people don't realize about ATS is that you can set up keywords on the back end that aren't even in the job description. So for example, a recruiter might be looking for a technical account executive, and the job description may read very sales heavy, but on the back end, my preferences may be to look for someone with a SQL background and someone who's familiar with NPS. I might do it that way because the company noticed in the past that some of our most successful tech AEs had this particular type of background. That was just an example, by the way, so don't take that to heart. Remember, too, that most ATSs still use logic. So, for example, I might want to look up somebody who's a software engineer or a back-end developer, and they also need to have Python or Java experience, so like a Boolean search. But your resume says programmer, and even though you've done all the things I just mentioned, the ATS won't pick it up, and you'll get the rejection. That's why you see so many clips about switching up your resume, but they're not really breaking down why from the recruiter side. Another example I'll give you is something that happened to me a few months ago. I was working with this client who had a filter set up. This lady didn't even know she had the filter set up. I think she just inherited this from somebody who worked there previously. But the setup was only show the top 50 matches for this particular role. So a lot of the good candidates were getting the boot because of the ATS, and they had an AI assistant. And I was like, girl, who set this up? And she was like, I didn't even know that was there. I was like, what? I'm telling you all this so that you know it's not always you, and you understand what the other side is up to. That way you can adjust your resume accordingly, especially as more and more companies use AI assistants to do the initial filtering. Anyway, and lastly, pay attention to the job title and adjust your resume accordingly. An automation engineer could be the same as an ML engineer, depending on the way the company decides to define it, and depending on the description. So you'll have to adjust your resume to be in sync with that job title if you qualify for the job, so the ATS won't dock you and take you out of the candidate pool.